I'm going to call the meeting to order. We're coming out of recess. At this time, the board has been asked to consider two items today. Number two being on our agenda that we're looking at is to recognize Deputy Olin Rayner, and the other one is to award the FY25 audit contract. I will need a motion to amend the agenda as this is required.
Make such a motion.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Motion so carries. The agenda is accepted. At this time, I would like to ask Deputy Rayner and Captain Marcus Smith to come forward, please. If you will. You can stand at that end, or you can stand all the way up here. You can just all the way up to the front. That way the camera's got your smiling faces.
And Mr. Chairman, I think we got a couple other commands.
Oh, that's fine. Anybody wants to come up, this officer, it would be great.
You got a couple other officers. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Miss Lee, I'm gonna turn this over to you.
I feel honored to present this Sun Award, this recognition to Mr. Rayner. Mr. Thornton received two letters in support of him. One of them read, on Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025, we had an incident outside of our business in which a customer was in medical distress and had fallen on the sidewalk. Officer Rayner was coming by and stopped to give his assistance and was able to speak with the lady and get her medical attention to her right away. Officer Rayner stayed with her, with our customer, and was very diligent throughout the entire ordeal. We deeply appreciate his attentiveness and his compassion for people. We would like to extend our gratitude for one of your fine officers, Officer Rayner, and thank him for his service to our community. That's one of the letters. The other one reads, I trust that this letter finds you doing well. On June 3rd, 2025, an incident occurred outside of our business. A customer, outside of our business in which a customer was in medical distress and had fallen on the sidewalk. Officer Rayner was coming by and stopped to give his assistance and was able to speak with the lady and get her medical attention to her right away. Officer Rayner stayed with her, with our customer, and was very diligent throughout the entire ordeal. We deeply appreciate his attentiveness and his compassion for people. We would like to extend our gratitude for one of your fine officers, Officer Rayner, and thank him for his service to our community. Best regards, Laura Daniels. On behalf of the commissioners, Mr. Hudson, and the entire community, we just want to give you our support for that great honor. We expect this from our employees. This is only what we expect from them, and we're so glad that you saw the need for her to get help, and you provided it. We thank you. Let's give them a hand.
We'd also like to thank the board for taking the time to recognize Deputy Rayner. Divine intervention, good observation skills. You know, he was in the right place at the right time, and he acted swiftly. And what wasn't in the letter, she was very adamant she was not going to go to the hospital, and he encouraged her to go to the hospital, and it was later determined, correct me if I'm wrong, she had suffered a mild stroke and a broken wrist, and she is now recovering at home. So
Thank you so much. Thank all your officers for doing a great job in Sampson County. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Melissa, we're going to turn everything over to you. You'll be presenting on the award of the Y-225 audit contract.
Okay, we did a RFP for audit services. The same auditor has been conducting our audits for the last 8 fiscal years, which is typically not normal. As you know, we've had issues with getting the audit done on time. So that was a perfect time to send out for new proposals. We received 4 bids, RH CPAs, PLLC out of Greensboro, Thompson Price, Scott and Adams, PA out of Wilmington, W Green PLLC out of Whiteville, and Malden and Jenkins out of Raleigh. 2 of the bids upon evaluation were determined to be not responsive to the requirements that we were asking for. And of the 2 that remained, RH CPAs out of Greensboro at a cost of $240,065 for 3 years of service was determined to be the most responsive bidder. So we're asking that when we get the documents together that you make a motion to award the contract to RH CPAs PLLC.
Okay. Can you repeat that price again, please?
For 3 years, it's $240,065. The first year is like $100,000 and $300. That includes initial setup of our accountants and different things, and then they've deducted that out of the following years, and so the following years are significantly lower.
Now, they meet everything that we're looking for as far as what we need to
They're a
budget, so
certified
we don't.
CPA firm, yes, sir, and they met the requirements of the RFP.
And they do understand that December 1 that we're at.
Yes, and I built the time frame that way because the audit's actually due December 31st, but I built the deadline is December 1st, just in case anything does happen to come up, it will give us a little bit more time to get it.
Thank you. That's what I read that in here. That's the reason I wanted to ask that question. Thank you. And board, if you will, please consider this, and we'll move forward with it as you get the contract and I'll put it together.
Well, Mr. Chairman.
Do we need to move forward?
It's requested that the board consider accepting the bid from RH CPAs PLLC of Greensboro for the 25 audit and authorize the chairman and manager to sign the necessary documents. And I'll tell you why. I expect this audit for the county to be very detailed. I think that you will have more findings than you've had in the past, and they need every day they can get between now and December 1st to actually do it. So I would put them on notice and go ahead and get started. Assuming that you're going to have a budget adopted, they need to go ahead and start pretty quickly on the audit.
Any further questions from anybody on the board?
Ready for a motion?
I'm ready for a motion. Yes,
I
sir.
make a motion that we use RH CPA for our audit.
Okay.
Second.
And I have a second. All those in favor? Motion so carries.
Thank you, sir.
Now we can move forward with that. All right, we'll move on into our budget deliberation. Mr. Hess, that's on you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I've put together a spreadsheet that just puts on one page everything that I've heard from members of the board, feedback from the public on different items, and basically decisions that you would need to make between now and whenever you adopt your budget. So the first item I have on here is I call it mandated because you will have an audit, and the cost of the audit is $100,300. We have in the budget $85,000, so the proposed increase would be $15,300. Now, let me pause there and say that that's the only item that's mandated that's on this sheet. Everything else on the sheet has been feedback that I've received from commissioners or feedback that I've received from the public that the commissioners have also commented on. And so your task today would be to give staff enough specific direction that between today and Friday, we can craft what's called a budget ordinance. So until the numbers are decided, we can't give you an ordinance to actually consider for adoption. And according to the board's timeline, today is discussion, today is giving direction, and then Friday morning at 10 a.m. would be another meeting in which you would consider the documents that Melissa has to produce between today and Friday morning. So in order to get that, What I've done is just listed everything that I can think of that you might want to take into consideration, and then decide kind of, if you want to, one at a time or all together, what you want to do in your budget. So if I could just kind of orient you, first of all, on the spreadsheet. The first column is an item description. What is this thing? The second column is already in the budget. That means we already have some of this money in the budget. For instance, we had $85,000 for an audit in the budget. The bids came in, and when the responses to the RFPs came in, and the lowest bidder was, or the lowest responsive bidder was higher than $85,000 by $15,300. So if you see a proposed increase, that is the amount that's not in the budget already that you would have to add to take care of that item. The adjusted item amount is the total cost of that line item in the budget. So for the audit that we just talked about, instead of $85,000, it would be $100,300, which meets the requirements of RH CPAs out of Greensboro. And the right-hand column, that's what I call running fund balance usage. Because at this point, if there is not a decrease to spending somewhere else through additional cuts, then it would be increased to fund balance. So you see, it was $1,312. I added $15,300 to that, and it comes out to $1,327. So taking care of the audit that you just voted on would adjust the fund balance by $15,300 for a total of $1,327. So that far right column, if you want to think about it, that's your fuel gauge on how much of the fund balance you would be using if you consider each item. Now, obviously, if you went down the list and you said, now this item, we're not going to do this, then you take that off the right-hand side. So item number one was the cost of the audit, and that cost of the audit is an extra $15,300. If I could, let me just give you the item description of the rest of it, and then I'm going to shut up, because then it's time for commissioner deliberation, okay? Item two is 4-day bonus holiday extensions for employees. Now, this was in the budget message. What that is, it's adding 1 day to the 4th of July, adding 1 day to Thanksgiving, adding 2 days to Christmas. That's been something that employees have indicated that they really would appreciate. You see zero money there in columns 2, 3, and 4, so already in the budget. It's in the budget message, and you would need to call that out just for this fiscal year. This is not a permanent thing, it's only for 1 year, but if you decide to do it, it would be in the budget ordinance, so it'd be a statement in the budget ordinance that you're adjusting holidays just for this 1 year. But it's no money, no additional money. So you see that on the far right side, your running fund balance total of $1,327,000, that is unchanged. It's still $1,327,000 because there's no money attached. Now the next one is employee life saving and retirement recognition. You just had a recognition of Mr. Rayner, and that is something that I believe is entirely appropriate. If your employees save lives, if your employees retire from government service, I think it's appropriate, and most other places would recognize them in some way, bring them before a county commissioners meeting, put them in front of the public, say this person did a fantastic job just as Commissioner Lee just did, and then present them with a small token of appreciation, a little plaque, an acrylic item to put on their shelf, something that memorializes that day. I'm not talking about gold watches. I'm just talking about, something that you could buy at any trophy case. Something less than ball teams get for winning a game, your employees should get for saving a life. So I put on your paper $5,000 in HR to allow HR to buy those small items, and also you, through your chairman, through your clerk, the board can recognize those people at your board meetings. So you see there, it would go up by a few $1,000s from $1,327,000 to $1,332,000. Beaver Management Program. The Beaver Management Program has been funded in the past at $100,000. I had cut it to $50,000. Beaver Management Program is exactly what it sounds like. It's to control beavers in the community, which cuts down on flooding, which protects property. The Garland Library county funded 2 days per week. You haven't seen that before, but this is a response from the town hall meeting in the town of Garland. Part of what was said in the town hall meeting, and Commissioner Lee was there with me on that, was we understand if you cut, but if you're cutting, cut everybody the same. Either cut everybody completely, go to 0 days for everybody, or if the other places are getting 2 days, give us 2 days. So what this would do is it would take Garland Library County funded days from 0 days per week to 2 days per week, like Roseboro and Newton Grove. The other days would still have to be funded by somebody else. We know that there's a private donation from the mayor of Clinton to do 1 day, and the Garland Town Council had previously voted on doing 3 days. However, if you pick up 2 days, then they could reduce their contribution from 3 days to 1 day. And that would put everybody at 2 days county funded and 2 days funded by somebody else. The Sampson County History Museum, you had a number of people that came to your meeting, the public hearing, and also both for the library and for the History Museum, you've had a lot of emails about those services. The public is very concerned about continuation of services. It was funded at $60,000. In my budget, it had gone down to $20,000, and an additional appropriation would bring them back up. And so on this sheet is $40,000 that would bring them up to $60,000. According to the director of the museum, they have other needs that they're going to have to fund on their own or through the city of Clinton that goes way beyond 60. And in fact, their request was way beyond 60. But at least if you put them at what they were last year, the rest of the money they would have to raise on their own. And then this is another item that has been added today that's been brought up, and that is a 1 year only full-time equivalent pro rata $500 bonus to be awarded in July. That is less than a 1% cost of living adjustment. Oh, thank you. That is less than a cost of living adjustment. A cost of living adjustment is about $339,000. A $500 flat bonus, and I need to make a correction here. I had $285,000. It's actually going to be $306,803. $306,803. I forgot federal taxes. Sorry. So if you pay income taxes on that, FICA, you're going to be looking at $306,803, not $285. So once again, that is $306,803, not $285. I apologize I forgot taxes. If you can believe the one person in the room that should be thinking about taxes, I didn't do that. So on the far right side, you'll see, just as I said, going down the road, if you look at fund balance usage, instead of being at 1.3, you're at 1,741,560. 1,741,560. So it's less than 2 million. So that's 1,741,560. Once again, is the number in yellow that you have on your sheet should be 1,741,560. Aside from those items, that's basically the only items that people have commented about. Generally speaking, from members of the public, we have had other comments, some of which have been from county employees commenting about health insurance, things of that nature. To modify the health insurance policies at this time for employees would mean that you would lose over $1 million in savings if you put them back like you were. That's something that would be difficult to do. In terms of the fee schedule, the commissioners have the fee schedule as previously presented. Your tax rate is certainly the biggest consideration for the day, what you believe the appropriate tax rate should be, and also fire tax rates are also a consideration. The fire tax rates, there have been no changes in any of that. That is what was negotiated with the volunteer fire departments. or it's what the Fire Commission made as a recommendation. All 20 fire departments have now signed the standardized contract with the county, so you don't have any fire departments that are left outstanding. So having said that, Commissioners, Melissa, myself, Stephanie, we're all ready to take notes on anything that you would like for us to do or further research. Beyond that, it's simply you having discussion. Although I probably need to point out one other spreadsheet as you have your discussion. I have this as agenda item number 5, resolution establishing biennial budget instructions. But I gave you another item printout. It's another kind of multicolor blue and yellow and green sheet. This is what I had on the screen the other day with us, and that is, if you're thinking about what you might do this year, it also pays to think ahead. I mean, this is a lesson I think learned from this year. At least think next year as well. So if you look at next year, I know for a fact that based on the amount of taxes that you're coming in and your funding formula, you'd be doing about $274,000 to both school systems in addition. And then if you did something like a 3% COLA, which you're not committing yourself on anything in this resolution. If you consider the resolution later on, this is not a commitment. These are instructions to the next manager for next year's budget. So it's saying, for instance, that how do I put this? A cost of living of 3% shall be the goal. But that doesn't mean it will be the case. In fact, that could be varied, and the new manager may make a different recommendation to you. The new manager may recommend differing amounts based on the level of an employee's pay, for instance. The new manager may recommend a lower percentage and a flat dollar amount, which would mean a higher percentage for low-level employees and a lesser percentage for high-level employees. Or it may just be a flat percentage. In addition, the new manager may recommend that it be split, that you have a cost of living adjustment plus a merit pool. So an amount that would be given based on merit. If you do that, however, you need to take between now and then and support HR in the implementation of a good performance appraisal program. Your employees' performance need to be evaluated and appraised if you have any kind of merit pop. Always supervisors should be evaluating employees if employees are not doing what they need to do, but especially if you have performance pay tied to something, then you must formally appraise their performance. So that is a system that you'd have to put in place. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, because as you're considering this spreadsheet, you may also want to think about this one.
I agree.
So that, Commissioners, that's what I got. Thank you.
All right, I'll get it started. We talked about waiting and seeing what we heard, and I think we got some clear direction from our thing Monday night. So I think we're moving in the right direction. If you're wondering where some of this come from, it come from a general conversation that everybody's had backwards and forth talking. I'll go ahead and say that when we talked, so y'all know where I'm at. I knew that I didn't know how much the audit would be, but all this other stuff, I guess I'm as guilty as anyone, because there are things that I've heard from my end of the county and from people, different ones. I've heard very little discussion on the oaths. Everybody says, take the Band-Aid off and let's fix what we got to fix.
That's right.
You not get that from everybody. I don't want you to think that's coming from everybody, but as the majority of my people, they say, take it off, let's run with it and go. What's been put on the paper, I personally am in agreement with all of it, but I would rather us talk generally amongst each of us and see what we want to do. But I've had conversation with the Beaver management. I know that HR is moving forward. I've had a conversation with people from the library, the Sampson Museum. We've all had conversation with them, and a very good conversation. And I do know that we're getting challenged to keep our employees happy and satisfied. And this was just something that I thought would be a very good idea to do to make, to show them that we appreciate what they're doing. Now, in a target that I haven't told anyone, when we looked at the fund balance, and I haven't told you, I haven't told anyone, I wanted to be below 2 million out of the balance. We're there. Thank you for that, sir. Thank the people who have worked so hard to put this in place for us also. But my target was to be below 2 here, and we are. So that part I feel good about going forward and what we got to do for the next several years. So now I'm gonna shut up and open the floor up to my fellow commissioners, and you give me your inputs and your thoughts, and we'll go from there.
Well, I agree with what you said. We have heard from the people, and the adjustments that we've made here, I think it's positive in the right direction. And one of the good things is that we're still under what we thought it would be. So I look forward to going forward and then working towards next year that we have to make some changes, but not drastic. Thank you.
Ms. Lee?
I too agree with Commissioner Godwin. Everybody can't be satisfied. We're trying to do things that's gonna be beneficial for everyone, so that everyone will get something from it. You know, when you're doing a budget, you have to take some things out, and you have to leave some things in. And we are hoping that we have left some things in that will benefit everybody. You know, we don't want to see our libraries closed. We don't want to see the History Museum closed. These are things that have been in our community, in our county, ever since I can remember. We had no reason to cut them or to let them go before, but it became a reason this year. So I think we need to move forward with what Mr. McLam and Mr. Hudson has presented to us, and pray for the best, you know, because that's what it's going to take. We don't, just like we don't know what's going to happen in the world. We don't know what that budget is going to be like, or how much gas is going to go up. We just have to trust that we'll be able to withstand it. And that's what my hope and prayer is for all of us. Because these things we need for our children, our families, and everybody involved that live in Sampson County. It's not perfect, but it's our budget.
Next. Whoever wants to go, y'all have at it.
My question with the Beaver management program. Are we sufficiently addressing their needs? And the reason why I ask that, the past 2 weeks in Sampson County have blessed us with an abundance of water, as you can see driving looking in the ditches. And the only thing that I can think of was a Bertha Fran scenario, where Bertha came through and dumped a bunch of water, and then here comes Fran along and dumps even more water, and everything was complicated by the beaver damming. And I just want to make sure that, you know, these 100-year floods that we seem to be having about every 5 years now.
That's right.
I want to make sure that, especially the southern end of our county, the southern end of our county and the western portion of our county, close to the Godwin Falcon area where we always have flooding in that area. You guys chime in anytime that you remember, but the Godwin Falcon area back up in that area, and then of course everything south of Clinton, which is flooded. And I just want to make sure that we have the adequate resources there to address the beaver issue. So.
Mr. Hardison's here.
I was going to say, we're going to lean on you, but before you go any further, you see that right there? That's my yard, and I don't live at the beach.
I didn't know you.
That
were
was
here.
after the floods that came through, so yeah, I know where you're coming from.
I thought you were an EMS employee. I don't have my glasses on.
Well, I got my disguise.
Yeah.
No, I've been out in the field this morning, that's why I got my hat on. But anyhow, the Beaver Management Program is an 8-to-1 return on investment for us. For every $1 you put in, it returns $8 investment in land being saved, in farmland being saved, in residential land being saved.
Fine.
And in beaver dams tore out. The Waccamaw River, or the Waccamaw Swamp down in Whiteville, used to be the Waccamaw River until beavers got in.
Got to, right.
We're in the same situation in Sampson County. You can't go over a culvert or a small creek. If you stop and look, you'll see a beaver dam. And back during Florence, all those beaver dams broke loose. And when those beaver dams broke loose, you couldn't even get from one end of the county to the other due to the amount of damage that was done to the highways. It not only tore the highways out, but it also tore the water system out, tore everything else out that was there beside the road, had to be replaced due to flooding because all those beaver dams broke. One beaver will make, on average, 4 beavers a year. What happens is those beavers leave, they go downstream a couple of 100 yards, they make another beaver dam. The other 2 go down another 100 yards, they make another beaver dam. And it just keeps backing up and backing up and backing up. And it keeps flooding farmland and residential land, killing trees, making farmland unable to be farmed anymore. Subdivisions, but making subdivisions where they can't be built in places. For a full-time trapper in this county, it costs $100,000 for USDA. That's what it cost them. It's a $6,000 initial fee to be in the program, and then it takes another $100,000 to be in the program. Right now, we've got our $6,000 investment, and there's $50,000 in there. That's probably half a year, maybe not even half a year, because the beavers are so bad. People not only call us, but when they see the trapper out, they'll say, I need you to come to my property. He's already behind probably 20 people trying to get to right now. I've probably fielded 10 phone calls and talked to 20 people that is very concerned about the beaver management program that's called my office and asked about it. So it would take a total of $100,000 to fully fund that beaver management program this year.
Well, the conversation I had, I was told that the 75 would put us at a solid maintenance to keep things going. The 100,000 would give us our full-time employee. And and we'll discuss that too as we move forward, but the full-time employee is of a large benefit for this county. Not to mention that if you do any explosives, and it does go on in this county, because I've been when they were blowing beaver dams, they bring in someone else to do that. So that person, I don't know how they fund that, or if it's funded, or it's just provided by the state, but this is someone who came in, because there was 2 together that day, and I stopped and talked with them, and they were blowing dams.
And that's funded through this program.
Okay.
And all the explosives are kept at the research station on 403. They have a building where they can keep explosives down there. And tearing out a beaver dam, in this type of weather, think about it, guy's down there in a set of waders, and he's tearing out a beaver dam that's 4 foot taller than his head. It's a 10-foot tall beaver dam, and he's in there with a rake just trying to get some of the stuff out where he can put an explosive in there. It is a very time-consuming, labor-intensive job maintaining these beavers, and we can't keep up with them. We really can't. And the bad part is they keep moving west or north, whichever way you want to talk about it. Our flooding impacts people below us. The people above us, flooding impacts us as well. So
I agree.
It's a trickle-down effect with that.
Yeah.
Brad, who determines where he go?
It's the phone calls he gets, people asking for the beaver system. And that's a cost share program, is what it is. Through the USDA, the landowners that call, people that call and ask for the program, ask for somebody to come help remove the beavers, the DOT, whether it's the DOT or private landowners. He just takes them, puts their name down as called, and then he responds to those calls as in order that he gets them.
And And to give it a little bit more reinforcement, you won't know who to call. You can start with your DOT folks. They're watching the culverts, they're looking. I did have a conversation with our local DOT person, and he said that we had to do something for the beavers. So I've reached out on this, he said, because he said it'll cost more than you can imagine. We can't keep it cleaned out fast enough if we do enter into an event. So that's just food for thought for everybody.
And they're really bad down south, and I know you know that. Because the land is low, and those little creeks fill up really fast with the beavers. Have you ever looked into applying for a grant through the flood mitigation?
I have not, no. That might be a good idea.
That might be.
Look into.
I'll try to get you some information.
But I was in Ivanhoe today, and the Black River's out of the
It's
banks down there. Not much, but it is out of the banks. And if it keeps raining like this, it's gonna keep, the river's gonna keep rising, and we're gonna start having more problems.
Mr. Chairman, if you fully funded it, it would put your fund balance at $1,766,560. $1,766,560, and that would put the Beaver Management Program back at a full funded 100, which would give you your full-time person here in Sampson County.
What was that number again?
$1,766,560.
Thank you, Brad. Good information. Mr. Crumpler? You got anything else? I
Sorry.
don't know if you were coughing or clearing your throat, I had to check with you.
With Beaver Management, that was one of my concerns, that we adequately addressed that, because it's gonna cost us more long-term if we don't.
I agree.
Yes.
And I hate to say that, but.
We'll get further behind.
That's I don't end up with
That's
that.
what would happen.
We're gonna hurricane.
The only thing I hadn't heard, I had not heard that it was, the fully funded was 100,000. That had not been told to me.
Yes.
But I do know that we'd like to take it off last year, and we ended up putting it back on for a simple reason. We knew what was gonna happen.
Right.
And I didn't realize that amount was there, so that's.
And a couple of years ago, we did skip a year. And the USDA trapper came back and said he's having to go right back where he did the year before and start right back where he was and go back to trapping the same areas that he cleared before.
They don't quit.
In adjusting that up, adding 25,000, you said 1,766,560. That still puts us lower than the past 5 years on fund balance.
That's what I'm looking for.
Yep.
I think the next lowest year would have been 1.8 million on fund balance use. I know we don't need to use fund balance for everything, but I think this Beaver Management issue is something that
Yes.
if we don't go ahead and take care of,
It's gonna be
we're
worse.
gonna pay tenfold down the road.
I don't ever see us getting ahead of them, but I see us being able to manage them and maybe key on some critical places, especially got a fully funded person who's here. We can say, these are the critical areas you can go to it, so that's what I want to see.
And about the grant, I know that the Philip Bell that looks after the Cahary River Initiative, they have applied for some of those grants before about clearing the Great Cahary out. And once you clear a section out, they will not allow you to go back later on and clear that out. So if beavers reinfest that area, I do know you can't go back on with those grants.
Oh, you can't get the grant back, you have to do it on your own. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, you would, like, if they cleared between 421 and 701 with the grant, you couldn't go back a year or two later and apply for a grant and do the same.
Go to do it again. I got you, I'm with you.
My fellow commissioners, Mr. Hudson, just to recap my thoughts, when I came on the board and we hired Mr. Hudson and I met with him as he met with each one of us and wanted to know what keeps us up at night and what our concerns are going forward, I was very clear and direct with him, as I've been every time I met with him, and Miss Melissa, and with each of you. And I've been very adamant on social media that I would never support any budget that's over $85 million as our current budget is. I made that very clear, that I would not support the budget of $85 million. I was very clear I wanted a budget less than $85 million. Mr. Hudson and the work of all the county department heads and with Ms. Melissa have given us and proposed to us a budget of just over $82 million. That meets one of my goals that I made clear to him that I wanted. I also had done research and I had come up with different tax rates for all surrounding counties. And the average tax rate for Sampson County compared to all surrounding sister counties is significantly below the average. I think the average of all our sister counties, including Sampson, was like 72 cents. Of course, that's going to change as we move forward because other counties are going through revaluation. Cumberland is dropping its tax rate to revenue neutral, which I think is less than 60 cents. So that average will change. But I made it clear to Mr. Hudson that I didn't want to have a tax rate because I knew looking at the budget that there would be a very strong chance we would be forced to make a tax increase. And I made it clear to him that I didn't want the tax increase to put our tax rate above 70 cents. He has provided us a proposal to keep our tax rate below 70 cents. I made it very clear to him that I wanted to see a responsible use of fund balance. We could not survive on $11 million appropriation going forward. I wanted to see the fund balance drop below $2 million. He has provided us a proposal to do that. I made it clear to Mr. Hudson that I wanted to see our budget growth and our ongoing budget to be capped so that we would not get back into the habit of having ever increasing budgets year after year, so that the county government would know that it's responsible to maintain costs and to have tight cost controls. He has provided us with a proposal to cap our budget next year with this proposal. He has done everything that I have asked him to do. As a Republican, as a small business-minded Republican who believes in small government, it greatly pains me that I have to vote for a tax increase. But I am also a person who believes in being responsible.
Me too.
And I strongly believe that we cannot hamper county services. So regretfully, I will support this budget because it calls for a tax increase.
I agree.
But I support it because we have to do it. The people of Sampson County expect it.
That's
I have told the people that I serve that I will do what I think is in the best interest of them, their families, and my family. And I believe we need to move forward, and I also believe we need to move forward with the holiday pay, or the holiday, it's not pay, it's just holidays. We need to move forward with that. We need to move forward with recognizing our outstanding employees and those who are retiring. We need to maintain our Beaver management program. I believe that the people of Garland have stepped up to support their libraries, and if we're going to support Roseboro and Newton Grove with 2 days, I feel like it is only fair that we support Garland with 2 days, but with the caveat, and I would want to make this very clear, and I would want to let the incoming county manager know, and also the library director, that we do want to see the library to be successful. We want to see its foot traffic increase and become a more vital part of their communities. So we leave it to the library director and to the people in those communities to try to make their libraries successful so that we don't feel like we have to cut them because there's only 3 people going to the library a day.
I agree.
We want to see it grow and be successful and be a centerpiece of their communities. The Sampson County History Museum, it's quite a thing. Vice Chairman Pope and I visited there Saturday, and they have a lot of stuff there. In fact, the thing that touched me the most was when I entered in the foyer of the History Museum, there was a picture of Dr. Paul Crumpler 1882 to 1965, and it said Dr. Paul Crumpler began his medical practice in the oldest building in Roseboro. He shared this small site with Tarts Drug. When Dr. Crumpler moved to Clinton, his office was on the second floor above Butler Pharmacy. He married Ruggie Fisher in August of 1908, and they had 4 children. Dr. Paul Crumpler was my grandfather's cousin. He delivered my father in Roseboro in the Brewer Starling Clinic in 1943. And my youngest son is a namesake of his. Paul Crumpler is the name of my youngest son. That's just a sentimental thing. But I do want to see us provide for the History Museum because it is a centerpiece of our history. So, Mr. Hudson, you have done everything I asked you to do, sir, and I thank you.
I just want to thank you because you summed up just about the whole board.
You did good.
We're going to task you as Assistant Ms. Jean with PR for us. But I really do, if I may.
Go ahead. We're here for.
I know everybody's not going to be happy, and I apologize ahead of time. And it's like I told you Monday night, there's growing pains, we got to step up, we got to do what's right. And, you know, sometimes we all have to agree to disagree, but we do it in a reasonable and prudent fashion. And from the various questions and decisions that have been asked to this board, I hope you realize that nobody takes anything for granted or that we downplay anybody's service. It started, we recognized sheriff's deputy for saving a life, but I've had the privilege over the years of knowing that our public safety people work hand in glove. Our EMS people, our emergency management services, our fire marshals, our deputies and detention officers work hand in glove every day. And not only that, but other facets of the county kick in and play as well. When a hurricane kicks in, everybody in here is a first responder. Everybody does a wonderful job. You got people that didn't sign up for what they thought they were getting into, but they make it work. We appreciate all of that. We appreciate everything that county employees have done. I know the health insurance is not a pleasant subject for anybody. And I wish there was a magic solution for that, but there's not. And we're in a situation where we've got to look at the overall good of the county. You know, to the employees, I apologize, but understand that, you know, we hear what you say. We hear what you feel. I felt what you felt for many years. And it hurts me. It hurts me in my heart. And I wish I could do something different. But I guess I've grown old and matured and taken on other responsibilities. That's what somebody once told me. Well, it's true or not. I have to look out for everything. I just hope you understand, and I appreciate you.
Well, I feel like we've all expressed our thoughts and the way we all feel. How would you like for us to move forward? Giving her the direction to start writing and then we come back and vote? Or I'm coming from me and this board, from what I've heard, if it's on this paper and you've got it in the budget, I think we're good with it, sir. And again, before we go any further, I want you to understand that we do appreciate the hard work that you've done and that you've heard our request and where we wanted to go to and the things we wanted, and you've made it happen.
Have delivered.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. That's your word. Thank you.
Kudos to you, Mr. Hudson. You did it. You brought us out.
Well, thank you, members of the board. You've had a hard year. Let me continue to just take care of business for a second. And I'm doing this for Ms. Burton.
Okay.
When you come back, you're going to have a finished document before you that will require a vote. Mm-hmm. To be clear with her, between now and Friday, when you have the document in front of you, because it can be changed on Friday. I mean, we have a computer now. So, and before that we had typewriters, so it just took longer. But we do have a computer. If anything has to be changed on Friday, it could. Today is not the day you vote on the budget. But it would be helpful if the board made a motion directing Ms. Burton to prepare the budget ordinance, fee schedule, and tax rate to bring back to you on Friday. So if I could repeat this back to you,
Please do.
and then if you believe it's appropriate, a motion as in so moved would be fine, or something to that effect, direct to Ms. Burton.
We got you.
So basically, a motion that would direct Ms. Burton to prepare a budget ordinance, fee schedule, tax rates for the general fund and fire tax rates as presented either in the budget book or on this sheet, with this sheet encapsulating the changes to the budget book, which include $15,300 for the audit, $5,000 for employee life-saving and retirement recognition in HR, an extra $50,000, bringing the total for the Beaver management program to $100,000, $37,125 to pay for 2 days of the Garland Library per week, with the remaining 2 days to be picked up by other sources, either private or the town of Garland. The Sampson County History Museum being funded an additional $40,000, bringing their total to an equivalent amount of last year, which was $60,000. And if the board chooses a prorated one-time $500 bonus to full-time equivalents of the county, which would bring the total fund balance appropriated for this year to $1,766,560. That is $1,766,560, with a tax rate of 68.5 cent, fee schedule as presented in the budget book, and fire tax rates as presented in the budget book, either negotiated with fire departments or recommended by the fire commission.
Thank you.
In addition, that employees would receive a 4-day bonus holiday extension as set forth in the budget book. That's a really long thing to say. I know, but that captures what's in your budget book plus what's on here.
All right.
It is not the resolution, which you need to consider separately.
We'll get to that.
So that is just now, and that all of that is instruction to Ms. Burton to put that in writing to bring back to you Friday morning at 10 a.m.
I'm gonna do better for Miss Burton. I'm gonna do this individually. Miss Lee, all I want you to do is say so moved if you agree.
So moved.
So moved.
So moved.
So moved.
So moved. Motion carries. Proceed on.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioners. You'll have a budget ordinance, fee schedule, and everything ready for you on Friday morning at 10 a.m. And that concludes your item 4.
All right, before we move on to the resolution, because I want to look over that, because I think it's a big deal. I personally want to thank my commissioners and the work that you guys have done. I hope that people understand that this was not an easy task, and I do appreciate the conversation we've all had in the forward motion that we're moving forward with. And with that said, now, do we need to read this, or you want to read it, or if you can?
Read this. So this would
Resolution
also be-
establishing the budget instructions, or whatever you want to call it, sir.
Right. And this is, once again, looking ahead, looking at more than 1 year's worth of budgeting. And so any of these terms can change. This is all draft. But I think the main thing is item number 1. But let me just start this at the top. Resolution establishing biennial budget instructions for the Sampson County, North Carolina 26-27 fiscal year. Whereas the Board of Commissioners is committed to fiscally stable budgeting, and whereas the 25-26 fiscal year Sampson County, whereas during the 25-26 fiscal year, Sampson County needed to end large appropriations from its general fund to balance the budget, and whereas mandated services required of the county, the overall financial position of the county and the demands for service forced the county to raise various fees, charges, and the property tax. And whereas the Board of Commissioners desire to establish formal direction for the creation of the 26-27 budget, creating the start of a biennial budget process. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners adopt the following budget directions for 26-27 fiscal year, contingent upon the funding resources of the county in the 26-27 fiscal year. Let me pause there before reading further. It's important to make this contingent upon what happens next year. If you have a downturn in the economy, if revenues this year don't come in like anticipated, if you have a major expenditure, a roof blows off something, I mean, things can happen from one year to the next. In fact, the state of North Carolina, they have a biennial budget process, but they will go back and adjust the budget in the second year of the biennial. So it's possible that you have to change things. But this is important for instructions to the county manager. I have had a conversation and I have shared this document with Mr. Van. He would appreciate this document or one like it to give him instructions in how he is to proceed next year. And I knew he would, because any manager that has some sense would want clear instructions. The worst thing for a manager is not knowing which way the board has in terms of direction. So here are items, and what I'd like to do maybe is just pause after each one. Everything I've read so far has been the happy, glad stuff, but now we're talking about actual instructions. So number one, there will be no general county property tax increase. Okay. Number two, department fee increases may be considered on a case-by-case basis.
Exactly.
Number three, the county will comply with all mandates from the state or federal government and shall fully fund such mandates as required by law. 4, the county will fully fund the Sampson County Public Education funding formula. Number 5, the total of all combined general fund, and I write the number 11 there, that's the accounting number of your general fund. So if anyone says Fund 11, that's your general fund. Fund 11 department funding shall be capped at the 25-26 total funding level. So let me pause for clarification here. I say the combined general fund department funding is capped at funding levels. So what that means is it's not that an individual department is capped at what they had this year. It's the combination of those general fund departments is capped. For instance, I'll just use finance. If finance bought software this year and they're not buying software next year, they don't need that money. It could be that legal has to have that money. So there could be some movement between departments, but the overall total is capped. That can be moved between general fund departments as proposed by the county manager as part of the manager's budget. So the manager can propose to shift money from one department to another, but the overall total is not going up. Number 6, based on feedback I've received, a cost of living adjustment of 3% shall be the goal for all permanent full-time equivalent employees at a rate proportionate to their normal work schedule. When I say a rate proportionate to their normal work schedule, I mean if they were a 50% employee working 20 hours a week, everything's contingent on how much they work versus a full-time employee. Obviously that 3%, that's something that you should think about, whether or not you want, because these are instructions, if you want them to have as a goal 3%, if you want them to have as a goal 2%. I wrote this not knowing whether or not you would consider $500 per employee this year. So that's something, when I finish reading, y'all talk about that if you need to. Number 7, the manager may consider travel and training as part of the budget. I don't say how much, and you have restored some travel and training to this year's budget, so it went from 0 to some travel training, but the manager could consider that next year. Upon formal request from the Sampson County Board of Education, the county manager shall include in the budget or prepare a budget amendment for necessary funding up to the required grant amount to meet the local match for the Hopton High School construction grant, provided that the money is immediately required and no alternative source of funding has been received from the state or federal governments. Such funding will be drawn from the capital reserves of the county or the general fund. So you're getting $60 million, you're going to owe 4.2. Whenever they turn loose that project, which they're getting closer to doing that, at the point that they sign the contract or thereafter, they're going to come back and say, we need our 4.2. Now, if the state comes through with some additional money or they find a grant or some other additional money, that's fine, use that. But if they don't, it's going to be on the county or on the school system in the county. I would also, at that point in time, look at the school system's fund balance as well and see where they're at, where you're at, and make a decision. Any increases in staffing in general fund departments shall be offset by equivalent cuts to recurring expenditures within the total combined general fund departments, or alternatively, are grant funded. So number 9, that is keeping a control on the total number of positions that you have. Now remember, this is instruction to the county manager. So this is not adding any positions unless there are equivalent cuts that are found in recurring expenses or grants. The water department, transportation department shall continue to be self-sustaining. All indirect cost plans shall be followed. If Sampson County is not successful in its negotiations with GFL to forestall the cost of convenience center sites, this matter shall be brought to the Board of County Commissioners, who shall make necessary decisions. The convenience center sites are being operated for free by GFL, and for the benefit of the public that's watching, that agreement expires in June of 2026, and the cost would be upwards of $100,000 per month to the county, at which point in time you will have a couple of choices. Number 1, if you can negotiate GFL to continue doing it for free, that's great. Number 2, you have to take money out of the property tax to pay for the convenience center sites. So that's $1.2 million, which would be another 2 pennies on your property tax. Number 3, you institute a charge at the convenience center sites to pay for the convenience center sites. And this is not the dumping of the trash, this is the staffing of the convenience center sites, the trucks, the transport, all of that. Which right now GFL would charge you $100,000 per month for. Or number 4, you do away with convenience center sites. They're not mandated. There's a problem if you do away with convenience center sites. Number 1, your trash on your side of the road is going to go through the roof. But that is one of the options. So that is something that's going to come up, and I definitely will be briefing Mr. Van further on the need for him to engage in strong negotiations with GFL. As a side note, you are definitely going to need legal counsel as you go forward. They're a big company, and they've got all of the lawyers. And we have Mr. Allen, and he's done a great job for us. But I'm convinced that when you're talking about millions of dollars and many years, don't take chances in any way. The county government 10-year capital improvement program to maintain county buildings shall be followed. Fire tax rates shall follow the 2025 Fire and Rescue Services Agreement Amendment, including the recommendations of the Fire Commission. And finally, the Economic Development Director shall make a recommendation to the county manager concerning necessary infrastructure improvements to the county's industrial parks, which could be funded from the county's Public Building Capital Reserve Fund or Economic Development Fund. And that last item, number 15, you have land that you've purchased for industrial parks. There are some studies that can be done now, and also just strategic planning, which I am going to recommend in your July meeting, Mr. Chairman, that you consider a proposal for Mr. Jordan to have a workshop coming up in late July. July 30th would be a good date for that, in which the strategic plan could be presented to the board in a workshop of the board. So you can do strategic planning this year, you can do some studies this year, but for you to put roads, water, sewer into an industrial park to land you've already bought is going to take more money. And so number 15 addresses that. So these are your instructions to your new county manager, who will be your new budget officer. So anything that you would like to change in regards to this, I definitely think you should change this now, and either today or Friday, make the adjustments to give your manager direction, but also, as Commissioner Crumpler said, and very importantly, I believe, for the public to know your direction, particularly as it applies to number 1. All 5 commissioners have told me I believe, in terms of taxation, the least amount possible. And if you have to do something this year, you absolutely do not intend to do something next year.
Right.
Plan. Any discussion?
Yeah, on the cost of living adjustment, I agree with the need for the 3% next year, but one of my concerns is the ongoing feedback I get from constituents about, and you don't want the department heads definitely have to be paid more because they have a lot more responsibility, but there's always a concern in the public that the department heads make more money significantly more money than their employees, and a lot of people in the public perceive that as, whether it's an injustice or not, I can't say, but it's a perception, and I would like us to figure out a way where we can address that. I like your idea of having the stipend, because stipend is for everybody, not just a percentage. So I don't know if we would adjust it to 2.5% with the stipend, or do the 3% with the stipend, or what we should do. But I know that is a concern I often get from constituents about the growing difference between the higher paid employees and the
Paid more than need to be paid.
more or less the frontline workers.
And remember, this other sheet is some quick math on this resolution. So if you're talking about 3% flat, it's $1,017,000. You can expect an estimated increase naturally in your tax base every year of about $600,000. So your estimated increase in your fund balance appropriation would be about $691,000. So if you took that down, instead of $1,017,000, if you did 2%, it would be, $339,000 less than that. But there are a couple things that you could do, and a couple things I've done in the past. One of the best things to do, if you want to increase the percentage for your lower paid employees, is to do a percentage plus flat stipend amount or flat bonus amount. That translates, for a person who makes less money, it equates to a higher percentage. And for a person who makes more money, it's a lesser percentage. I do believe that whether or not, even if a person is a department head, if that department head leaves, you're going to have another one. Especially if it's something like DSS or health department or it's IT, you're going to pay competitively. So that's something to consider. You're still going to be in the market for leaders in your organization, but it's also true that department heads make considerably more money than frontline employees.
And that often the frontline employees are the ones that are interfacing with the public and provide the quality of service that we're always wanting to increase the quality of customer service in county government.
Can you give us, I know we're not gonna vote on this today, we'll do the budget. Can you give us some options as far as with a stipend on that particular line item?
Sure.
I hate to, before you do it, but I'm kinda agreeing with Commissioner that we need to change maybe a little bit to address, because I've heard the same thing, that some of the lesser paid don't get it, and I understand that. But I don't want my department heads to feel like I'm throwing them under the bus either, because I'm not.
Because they have a lot of responsibility.
They got a tremendous amount of responsibility. So I know it's a fine line here, but I would love to have somewhere where we could look at the stipend too, to see if we can't make it to where it benefits everybody as much as possible.
What if on Friday, I come back with another little spreadsheet and I can give you, kind of a list, 1%, 2%, 3%.
That'd be good.
1% plus 500, 1%, I could do 1%, 2%, 3% plus varying dollar amount stipends.
Right.
And then you just insert whichever one the board appeals to you the most in the resolution. So you can leave that part blank, and I can have more options for you, and we can present them to you on Friday morning.
So I definitely do not want to leave our employees out, because they've done a super job with this and worked through it, and I want to make sure that we look after everyone we possibly can.
what about, and this may or may not be a viable option, it may not be set, but select the pay grade. These pay grades fall into a 3% COLA, and these pay grades fall into a 1.5 or a 2% COLA, where your lower grades get a greater percentage than your higher grades, but there's still some forward movement in the pay plan, so we're not coming back trying to address that down the road as well.
The first thing I would address on that would be compression. So if you're making it part of their base salary and not a one-time flat bonus. A one-time flat bonus that's not added to your base salary is just a bonus. But if you're giving employees that are in different grades different percentage increases, you're going to create a situation like you had in the sheriff's department where some employees that may be, they're going to advance on the supervisors over them. So it'll create compression between subordinates and supervisors. So if I was going to do something differently for lower paid employees, I would try to do it in terms of one-time bonuses and not add it to their base pay.
I agree.
Ms. Dillman is in the audience, our HR director.
I would just like to remind everybody, we just paid for a salary study that set up the pay grades and set up the scale and set up the salaries for identified positions. And so when you start tweaking things with good intentions, then you're going to create more disparity, and we're going to be back to another pay plan that looks at every position. So just keep that in mind as you're looking at how you want to reward specific positions. That's what that pay study did. It looked at all those positions and it set the pay grades for those positions. So keep that in mind, because when you create compression, it can be between pay grades, it can be within pay grades. And how we addressed that in the past, a cost of living adjustment moves your whole pay scale for every position. Then what you may want to look at is movement towards the midpoint, which was advised by the pay scale for time in the position. That is the recommended way to look at it. So either looking at a stipend, a one-time stipend for those positions, or looking at time and grade to move people forward based on their time in that position is the recommendation of that pay study. So you don't want to undo the good work that's been done and been paid for.
Right.
I agree with Ms. Dillman, having worked in the county. I believe when I was working, it was more important to me to have my insurance paid than to get a raise. Because what would I do with that raise? Go out and spend it. Then wouldn't have a dime. But the insurance is ongoing. It's lifelong. You still get, if some of your insurance bill is paid, that's gonna help your income. Because you got to pay it. You got to take it out of your check to pay it, what you're getting. So if you consider, just like if your insurance costing you $500 now, I would rather have the county pay that $500 for me in my insurance than to take it away, than to give me a raise. Just like I said, that dollar bills is not as important as benefits. Sometimes we look at things and say, I'd rather have the money. But the money is gone the next day. But if you got the benefits, you got something that's gonna last you for a lifetime. You got your health insurance, dental insurance. But see, now, I think the way it's gonna work now, you got to pay. That's the way retirees are. That's the way I am. I have to pay for everything. And that takes away from your money, takes away from your cash money that you got to live with. When I was working, the county paid all of it. We didn't have to pay any of our medical, the fee. And that was something like, we were told back then it was something like $800 a month that the county was paying for our insurance. But we didn't have to pay. And what I would tell employees is that, we're not making anything. I said, you add your insurance money that the county is paying for you back to what you're getting a month and see what you get. It comes out to be a lot more than what it would be if you took the cash, if you had a raise.
My suggestion would be to give us the examples on that item 6 that we talked about. I think you've heard it, and we've heard what Ms. Dillman said. And what we don't want to do is create that same problem we had before, to where we're overrunning people, and I understand that. I want to make sure that, just examples, so we can explore that option, would be great.
We'll give you a variety of examples you can insert, like you'd like to in number 6. Were there any other numbers that you would like to have changed that's on the resolution? Any other item numbers?
Now, which we know if we do a 3% COLA, that's going to increase the funding for the departments.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I understand that. I mean, I just want to make sure everybody understands that moving forward.
Right.
Everything else I'm good with.
But we'll give you several examples on Friday morning. We'll have a budget when it's ready for you, the fee schedule ready for you, the resolution for the biennial.
Okay.
And by the way, this is step 1. I mean, really, in the future, you can do what the state does. I mean, if you start in November and not February, you can project out, and departments should be able to project out pretty clearly, not only 1 year, but have you a much better focus of the second year as well. But I would not try that unless you started on time, early part of November, and that would be easy. And I can, I know that Mr. Van, he's got the capability of doing that. So we'll come back with number 6. The only other thing, just to note, commissioners, and this is something that you might want to consider as well, not to do with this, but it's an effective today, with the board going forward with the 4 bonus days for employees. That would make the 7th of July a holiday day, and that is the date of your next meeting. So if you would be willing to change your meeting, or if the board could change your meeting from the 7th of July to the 14th of July, which is 1 Monday later. I understand from the clerk that you've done that before. When you can't meet on the first Monday, you meet on the second Monday night. It maintains it as a Monday night. It doesn't take another night of the week. So that would be something, Mr. Chairman, that you would need to do to move the July meeting from July 7th to July 14th.
Would you like us to go ahead and do that, so make it easier on y'all?
You could take care of it.
All right,
The
well,
clerk would appreciate that a whole lot.
I know, I kind of, somebody looked at it and looked back real quick.
If we do it on the 14th, that will give us 2 weeks between meetings to get so the agenda for the August meeting would need to go out on the 28th. Would you rather do it on the 14th and maintain that Monday, or the 8th and do it on just the next day?
Well, if we do it a week later or on the 14th, that gives Mr. Van time to kind of get his feet wet a little bit for a few days, and then come to the meeting.
I think that would be good. You good with it?
I'm fine with either
Okay.
one, I just wanted to give you the option.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we move our July meeting to the 14th.
14th of July at 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
We have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Motion so carries. Anything else to come before this group today?
No, sir. Thank you. You've taken care of everything, but you would not need to adjourn today. You would need to recess.
I'm reading good. I even looked ahead, y'all. It says AM. AM's good here today, okay? Last time I said AM, I got a big laugh from everybody. I'm gonna do better. Yeah, PM, yeah. So we are going to recess this meeting until 10 a.m. on Friday, June the 20th, right back here. We are at recess. Is that good?
I didn't want to say, but I don't know about it.